Hey everybody, this is Cody Bateman. Welcome to our Relationship Marketing Podcast show. I'm super excited about this very unique show that we have for you today. For the first time ever, we are doing a podcast live from a stage with over 1,000 people watching us either live or from live streaming. And say hi everybody. So hopefully you can hear that. So now we have our audience is part of the podcast. First time ever. That's pretty cool. So we are here in Salt Lake City at the Relationship Marketing Grand Summit. And we are doing an impromptu relationship marketing podcast with an absolutely amazing guest. So I want to take the time to introduce to you our guest today. I have the one and only Melissa Barlock. How are you, Melissa?
I'm fabulous, thank you.
Yeah, well, you look wonderful. Looks like you're excited to have discussion with us.
I am.
So
yes.
I want to tell all of our podcast guests out there who you are a little bit. Melissa Barlock is a master relationship marketer. She's a high-level specialist who has spoken to people all over the world on the subject of relationship marketing. And she has taught people from all walks of life and all different type of industries about relationship marketing. And an expert and very good. Now, in one of my companies, we have several companies that support the relationship marketing effort. One of my companies is called Send Out Cards. In Send Out Cards, we have independent, what we call affiliates. And Melissa is actually an affiliate of Send Out Cards, and she is the highest ranking affiliate at Send Out Cards because she goes out and shares our relationship marketing systems and philosophies with thousands of people, and you've done very well. So congratulations in your own right for those accomplishments.
Thank you.
Yeah, fun stuff.
Thank you, yes.
Now, so this is weird. We're getting claps on our podcast. That's kind of cool. That's kind of cool. So this is interesting because, so Melissa, I don't know if you know this or not, but you're actually living one of my dreams right now.
Oh.
You're literally living one of my dreams. I've had a dream for a long time. I'm so excited about the results that you get from relationship marketing systems that we offer, relationship marketing philosophies, and the teachings that we do. I'm so excited about it. I get the chance to interview people from all over the world who are implementing this in their own businesses from all different industries, and they're highly successful in their businesses, whether it's real estate or insurance or mortgage or whatever it is. They're successful in their own rights, in their own industries, because they implement these practices. So I've had a dream that I would love to take a year off. Now, I'm not going to do this, by the way. Greg Byers says thank you, yeah. So I would love to be able to take a year off of my activities that I'm doing, with all the relationship marketing stuff and the businesses and everything else. And I would like to go out and find a business niche. I know what mine would be. This is crazy, I love motorsports. And I like big fancy trailers. Like, I'm a freak about trailers. Jody will tell you it's the craziest thing. Like, I go look at trailers all the time. I'm talking big custom trailers that you put toys in. And they got to look like racing trailers with pop-outs and air conditioners and satellites and cool stuff that you would see at the racetrack, right? I want one of those behind my truck, and just drive down the road with it, that kind of thing. I just get really freaked out about trailers. I don't know what it is. So I would like to go and sell trailers. Now, I've never sold trailers in my life, but I'd love to go sell trailers for a year. I'm not going to do it, but I'd love to do it because I'm convinced, I'm absolutely convinced. And I want you, let's hear the round of applause here. Let's see if they think that this would be possible. I'm absolutely convinced that knowing what I know, implementing what I teach in trailer sales, I could become the top producing salesperson for any dealership, for any high custom trailer dealership. I could become the #1 salesman in the world within 1 year. Do you think that's possible?
Yep.
There's no doubt in my mind.
Yep.
No doubt in my mind you do it. Well, Melissa's actually doing this. She's actually doing this. Now
Not with trailers.
Not with trailers. Not with trailers. Now not with trailers. Now she's not taking a year off from Send Out Cards. She's still a top affiliate of Send Out Cards and still teaching her relationship marketing principles. But as an independent affiliate, you have more freedoms than we do when we run the companies, right? So you're capable of doing this. So you had an opportunity that came your way, and you chose a profession in dental recruitment. So Melissa has jumped into the dental recruitment profession. Now, I don't have a clue what that even is. So what is that?
What is dental recruitment? Okay, so start off with that, or should I get into?
Yeah.
Okay, so basically it's staffing dental clinics. So staffing associate dentists, oral surgeons, specialists, hygienists, dental assistants, dental reception. So anytime, everybody in here, we all go to the dentist. And when you walk in there, from the reception to the hygiene to, the dentist that takes care of they all take care of you and your teeth. Those are the specialists. Those are the people that we staff. So we have, my company has clients all across Canada in almost every single province, and we help them with all of their staffing needs, specifically dental, no need to go elsewhere.
Wow.
Yeah.
So what made you want to get involved with that?
Send out cards.
Did you know much about that
dental?
stuff?
No.
Yeah, nothing?
No, nothing.
Nothing about...
Nope. I love getting my teeth cleaned. Where's D?
Yeah.
But no, so what happened? So actually it's because of Send Out Cards that, actually everything that I do right now is because of Send Out Cards. And we've had multiple conversations about Send Out Cards will always be a part of my life. I live and breathe Send Out Cards because the philosophy is me. I am Send Out Cards is me. It really is a way of life. So that's never, ever, ever going to leave. So what happened was I had a lot of clients and still do have a lot of clients who are dental clinic owners, dentists or oral surgeons.
You mean clients in Send Out Cards?
Clients in Send Out Cards,
okay.
Who use Send Out Cards as a retention tool for their staff and their patients. So, I was generating a lot of volume from all of these clients, these dentists who were using Send Out Cards as a tool. And so through all this, I had a lot of experience training their staff on Send Out Cards and relationship marketing and the importance of rapport building with your patients, which inevitably is relationship building and creates retention, but also with their staff. And so I had the opportunity to do presentations similar to what we do here and what you talk about all the time. And through that process, one of my clients asked me if he tried to recruit me. He wanted me to work for him and staff his clinics. He had about 10 at the time, and they've grown sufficiently since then, but he wanted me to work for him as a recruiter. And at the time, I said, no, I'm completely happy where I am. I'm good. And, life went on, and certain things happened in life. And I started thinking about it a little bit more, and I thought, you know what, why not? Why not entertain this idea? Recruitment and relationship building and relationship marketing is all I do. It's just another industry, like what you talked about. Could you do this in another industry? It's really all the same skills. And so I approached him, and of course we became very good friends as well. And I approached him and I said, listen, I'm going to entertain the idea of helping you with your staff, but I'm not really employee material. I don't think you want me as an employee. I don't make a good employee. So what I'll do is I'm going to start my own business. I'm going to incorporate it, and you can be my first client. And he said, okay.
Wow.
So that was the starting of my dental recruiting company.
Wow. So you don't know really anything about dental recruiting, but you see an opportunity. Now, you've been in the dental clinics. You call them clinics in Canada?
Clinics, offices. Yep.
Clinics, offices. Okay, so, Canadians do things different, I guess. So I think we call it dental. What do we call it in America? Dental
practices,
dental
clinics.
Practices.
I mean, it's synonymous, sure.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Anyway, so you had a lot of clients with your Send Out Cards business, your relationship marketing. You were in teaching these dental clinics relationship marketing principles. So
Yes.
you kind of had some understanding of how they function and how they work.
Yes.
So now that you're a recruiter,
Yes.
and you recruit people to go into these dental practices, do you teach those that you recruit in there the same relationship marketing principles? I mean, do you help the dental clinics with that, or how does that work?
Yeah, so great question. I mean, it's such an interesting and open and diverse industry, and there's so many different avenues that you can take, especially knowing what we know and what you teach with relationship marketing. It is transferable into every industry, every business, everyday life, with kids, with professions, which is what I love. What I love about what we do here at Send Out Cards. So there's many different avenues. I mean, I'm still using Send Out Cards as a tool within my recruiting company for a couple of reasons. Number one, my clients. So I, send them thank you card and brownies. We appreciate your business. Anytime that there's a placement, we thank them. Of course, if you ever want to get through the front door gatekeepers to the actual decision maker, you send a card and some brownies saying, hey, would love to meet you, or take 10 minutes of your time to share a little bit about what we do. Great door opener. And then, of course, when we place candidates, we do the same thing as well. So, congratulating them on their new job, or a lot of times they'll do presentations at universities, hygiene schools, as the students are graduating. And so I'll send them congratulation cards, like congratulations on completing your exams, and they don't receive cards from anybody. So right then and there, we're building relationships with people as soon as they get out of school, and those relationships are going to be lifelong.
Okay, so who is your customer? Is it the dental clinic, or is it the person being recruited, or is it both?
It's both. So we're
Okay.
representing both sides. We're kind of like that middleman. So we have our candidates. So kind of like our pipeline, our funnel, right? Our candidates are the associate dentists, so the students that are graduating from the schools, the hygienists, the assistants, anybody looking for a job. Those are, we're representing them. But we also have our clients, who are typically dentists or office
So you're a
managers.
connector. You're a connector, and you put them both together.
We're networking.
So
Yeah.
how do you get the relationship with the candidates? Y'all following? Y'all following out there on our? I got to remember, I'm on a podcast
I
right
know.
now. So we're following that. Yeah. So we're all following that. Part of your clientele are the candidates.
Yes.
So how do you get the candidates?
So, all the same principles that we do in Send Out Cards: relationship building, social media. I use a lot of LinkedIn. LinkedIn has been a huge social media platform for business relationships, or reaching out to candidates, students, clients. The same things that we teach here in Send Out Cards and other businesses with social media, just being present, adding value, constantly being on social media. People, the hashtags, all that kind of thing. So a lot of my clients have been generated through that, as well as the candidates seeking me out. And I still use the 80-20 rule. So 80% is content, adding value, relationship. 20% is, hey, we're looking for, an associate dentist in New Brunswick or something like that, And then we have people responding. So that's one avenue. Of course, and you've got the traditional, posting job ads, things like that. Then, going to universities, doing presentations. But all of that takes time. It's all about, it's not transactional, it's long-term relationships, reaching out, making sure that you're visible, phone calls, sending cards. I mean, that's a huge part of our process. Huge part of our process.
Wow.
Yeah.
Really good stuff. So you're killing it. You're killing it in this business. Now, Melissa's kind of humble, so she's not going to tell you. She just kind of does this kind of stuff. You YouTubers can see my little reaction here, but you're doing really well. And how long you been doing this for?
We incorporated November.
So November. So you're about what, 8-9 months? So however long that is.
Yep.
About 8 or 9 months into this, and you're already breaking records in a profession you didn't know.
Correct.
Really.
Yes.
And so tell me, what do you attribute that? I mean, it's like we're talking, I'm not going to share numbers on this show, but we're talking big success. Congratulations.
Thank
You're doing
you.
wonderful stuff.
Thank
now,
you.
But What do you attribute it to?
Relationships and building relationship skills.
Okay, so let's
Building
talk about
relationship
that.
skills,
What
that's
are,
what I
what are
attribute it to.
relationship building
So,
skills?
it's so funny that having conversations with people, and, I meet a lot of doctors, dentists, oral surgeons, very highly educated people. And sorry to the doctors in the room, but a lot, and you'll know what I'm talking about if there are doctors in the room, a lot of doctors, dentists, oral surgeons, they have such amazing clinical skills, the most brilliant people in the world, but they were never taught relationships or rapport building or connection and that kind of thing. And I'm realizing how important that is, because to have the balance is beautiful, but a lot of people have either one or the other. And, listening to all the credentials, and you can feel a little bit intimidated by some of the amount of, PhDs and MDs and all the DMD and all these things. But the reality is, when I look back at, my life and my experiences and my schooling, I'll have to say that one of my biggest teachers, or the best job that I had, was probably the hospitality industry, bartending.
Really?
Because as a bartender, and anybody in the hospitality industry would know that as somebody dealing with a lot of different people, they don't care how much you make, or if you can connect with people on a very human connection level, that's what they care about. I don't care whether you make $1 million or, $1,000. If you can connect with people in a very sincere, authentic way, they'll be your friends for life. And so that's one of the things that I realized as a bartender, and then going on through sales. Like, I remember my first real corporate job. I was a salesperson for a stainless steel company. And I had just gotten back from Japan. I had taught English in Japan for a couple of years, and I saved some money, and I wanted to buy a house. I was like 23 years old, and I thought, okay, well, I need a mortgage, so I got to get a job. So I ended up landing this corporate job as a sales rep for a stainless steel company. I remember saying to my friend who was encouraging me to go in, he says, well, just go in and be you. And I said, well, I don't know anything about sales, and I don't know anything about stainless steel, except for it looks really nice on appliances, right? So he goes, just go in and take it as experience for an interview. So I went in on the Friday, had a conversation with the sales manager, and I started that Monday. And from there, what I realized, it's funny because it was a very male-dominated industry, and I kicked butt. Like, within my first year, I increased my sales over 300%. And so all the men and all the sales guys would say, oh, it's because you're a woman, and da-da-da. And of course, okay, fine. You get your foot in the door, but you still have to maintain those relationships. And once you get in that door, you better know what you're talking about, or have something of substance. And so what I realized in that sales job is everything that all the speakers were talking about today it has nothing to do with, really the product. It has nothing to do with the product. It has everything to do with relationship. And I would sit down there in, we're talking, atomic energies and big clients, right? They're purchasing millions of dollars of material. And I would sit in their office and talk, probably in a 60-minute meeting, probably 45, 50 minutes, about their kids, about their wife. I knew what coffee they drank, whether it was Starbucks or Tim Hortons for Canada. I would always know exactly what they wanted. Sat down, talked 100% or 80%, 90% relationship. And then the last 10 minutes was, okay, price, lead time, sign the PO.
Okay, so this was way back in the day.
Yes.
So how old were you during that first sales position?
I was 24 when I started.
Okay, so
23, 24.
So think about this. You're 24, 25 years old.
A few years ago.
And a few years ago, not long.
No, not long.
But a few years ago.
Couple.
And you go into these corporate settings, you got all these sophisticated business people, and you're selling a pretty high-end.
And I have no idea what I'm talking about. I didn't know what grade stainless steel was. I had no idea what I was talking about. None.
But what did you focus your energies on?
On the relationship.
On relationship.
I knew everything about them.
Right.
Yes.
So when it came time to sell,
Yeah.
We've had presenters up here at the Relationship Marketing Grand Summit talking about how to make the close and how to do all this sales stuff, the sales process, and how to do it. So when you got to that point where you had to divulge some information that you really didn't know much about, what would you do?
Well, I had my inside sales reps, and I would ask them. I love what one of the speakers was talking about. I forget his name. Was it Larry or one of the other speakers talking about asking the questions? There's nothing wrong with asking questions to them, because a lot of times people love to be the expert. You don't have to go in there to be the expert.
Isn't asking questions actually the key?
Absolutely.
So now, this is so cool. 24 years old, in big corporations, talking to big business people, not knowing the product, but knowing how to do what? Ask questions. And that came from your bartending days.
Yeah, ask
So
questions.
what was it about bartending that taught you to ask questions? I mean, what?
Small talk.
Small talk.
It was small talk.
So the more you small talk, the more tips you probably got, that kind of, right?
Yeah.
Stuff like that.
Yeah.
So you learned that process,
Yes.
took it into another profession,
Yeah.
not knowing anything about the business. You're the young person in the room, and you became a master at doing what? Asking questions. And that's part of what we're learning at the Relationship Marketing Grand Summit. A lot of our presenters are saying that. It's not about presentation, it's about assessment.
Yes.
Wasn't that what you were doing?
It pretty much. And it's funny because a lot of these clients ended up inviting me to, parties and family events and barbecues. And to this day, they still reach out to me on social media to ask how I am. How's your family? We miss you.
Yeah.
And they just want to, continue on with the relationship. And even in my, both businesses, Send Out Cards and my dental recruiting, I always say, it's not about the transaction. I don't do transactional. I do long-term relationships. And that's really, really where, that's where it counts.
So don't do transaction, do long-term relationships. What kind of commitment does a person need to make that shift to do long-term relationships? I mean, what's the commitment level?
I think it's more of just shifting your mindset from thinking about your pocketbook to the relationship, a friendship, building a friendship, as opposed to increasing your paycheck.
Okay, so when
Just shifting your focus.
Let's take it to your dental recruitment. So when you're out networking and social mediaing, whatever that is.
On social media.
You're doing social
yeah.
media stuff
Yeah.
to meet people.
Yeah.
It's funny because we teach this all the time. When you do that, we teach. Now I'm just going to put you on the spot here. We teach, you teach, we all teach in the relationship marketing world. We teach that when you're doing that, when you're out meeting people, it has to be about what? The relationship, right?
Them.
Has to be about them. It has to be 100, at that point, it has to be 100% about the relationship. But Melissa, you got bills to pay, right?
Yes.
You're a single mom,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
So do you really do that? I mean, when you're out networking, are you really focusing 100% on the relationship? Or is it in the back of your mind that they're going to become a client and I'm going to make money from them?
Well, I know that for sure. And if they're not now, they will be at some point. They'll need my service at some point.
Okay.
I believe that wholeheartedly.
They'll need your service at some point.
At some point. And I believe that in Send Out Cards as well.
Right.
Because using the system, I've inherently had, all these clients want to use the service of Send Out Cards. And that's how I've treated really every business is that, building that relationship, knowing that you may not need it now, but you probably will at some point, or somebody who might.
So I think there's a key to something you just said there that it's really valuable. It just taught me something, is that we talk a lot about detaching from the outcome, and I think you just gave a clue as to how to do it. Do you notice what she said? Now I'm going to go to our live audience just for a second. You notice what she said? Let's talk about detachments for a second, because in relationship marketing, it's really important that you detach yourself from the outcome. We talk about that all the time. Just be nice to people. Just be nice to people. Detach yourself from the outcome.
Yep.
We say that all the time, right?
Yep.
And you preach it, teach it, and do it all the time. But you just said something that I think was powerful. You said, I don't wonder about if they're going to ever become my client. I do what? I know they will. Like I know at some point, I think that was the key word. I know at some point they will. Isn't that a form of detachment? Think about it. That is a powerful form of detachment. It's like, look, I'm out there to create relationships 80% of the time in marketing, 20% of the time. I am running a business. And I'm going to end up doing business with everybody.
Yeah.
But yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say another way to look at it as well is they're also your advocates. So if you're out there and building relationships and building business and friendships with integrity, and you do what you say you're going to do, people talk. Even though dental and all these different industries are huge, we know that, especially with social media, it's such a small space and people talk. So, go out there, be nice and kind and generous and integral with people, and, they'll be talking about you and your business, whether they do business with you or not. There will be at some point some sort of connection tied back to you.
Interesting. I want to shift gears here a little bit. I've seen you over the years. You're a master at relationship marketing. You're also very good at teaching personal development techniques. And personal development is a big part of being successful in business. You got to work on yourself. You need to nourish self. In fact, here at the Relationship Marketing Grand Summit, we have 3 segments or 3 sections that we're teaching, and the final one is how to take care of the most important relationship of all, which is relationship with yourself. So we spend all this time talking about, relationships with other people in your personal life, relationships with other people in your business, how to mold and shape it all together. We're always talking about relationship with other people, but we have to bring it full circle back to relationship with self. Because if you don't have a relationship with self, how do you create a relationship with anybody else? So we have a whole segment at this summit on relationship with self that we're going to be doing tomorrow afternoon. But you're a student of that. You're a teacher of that. So tell us a little bit about what is your personal development plan? We talk about having a personal development plan. How do you nourish self first? What kind of things do you do?
Yes, relationship with self is the number one relationship that you need to start with. And you realize that when you go through I don't want to say tragedies, but you go through, stuff in life, sometimes unexpected, most times unexpected, and that's when you realize, like, wow, I'm put to the test. And I think that I'm so grateful and blessed that I had a foundation to lean on, right? First, I had that foundation to lean on because of people like you and a lot of people in this room and my friends and team and because of all the energy that I put into going to events like this. They're so important. So having that foundation, absolutely key. There's points where I look at, the last year, and there's been some, it's been an interesting year. Some great things, with my business and not so great things, but it's interesting what happens out of when one door closes. There's always opportunity. There's always a silver lining. And so many times I've thought, man, I can't imagine not having a foundation of personal development or even the knowing that it's there. Like there's people out there that feel helpless and hopeless and don't have a support network. And I wish I could just tell people that, like what you're doing, this is why this is so important. This is why Send Out Cards is so important, that it's out there. People are there. They want to help. And there's so many things that you can do. And so to answer your question, what do I do?
Yeah. Many
things. So I think physical and mental are both just as important. For me, yoga has been so huge for me, both mentally and physically. Also reading and podcasts, a lot of YouTube videos. I listen to something or focus on something every single day.
Excellent.
Every day.
So you do a lot of reading and a lot of listening.
Yes.
And a lot of watching.
Yes.
The good stuff.
The good stuff.
The good stuff
Yeah,
every day.
I just got Netflix within the last couple of weeks.
Yeah.
I didn't have Netflix. I don't even watch TV. I didn't even know how to turn on my TV because all I've done until now is that reinforcement of positive energy. I don't want negative energy around me.
So you're about to be introduced to binge watching. You know what binge watching is?
I've noticed. I've got friends here who have told me some
There's
things
a
that I
few
need
series
to,
out there.
Yes,
and
apparently.
Now, the movie makers are smart because they're shifting now to 1 hour segments. It's 1 hour episodes, and they film a whole bunch at a time. They put them on Netflix, and you can watch a whole season of something, and it becomes kind of a binge watch kind of situation. Now, it's kind of funny. This is off cue or off. Well, we don't have a script anyway, so it's funny that you get on social media and you see all these gurus and influencers talk about all the things you ought to do. You ought to do this, you shouldn't do that. You ought to do this, you shouldn't do that. Should do this, shouldn't do that. Should, ought, put that, right? And everybody has a different thing. Big thing I see all the time, got to get up at 5 o'clock. Have to get up at 5 o'clock. If you're going to be successful, got to get up at 5 o'clock every day, no matter what. If you don't get up at 5 o'clock a.m. in the morning, you're a loser. Well, guess what? I don't get up at 5 o'clock.
Me neither.
Right? So the point is that different strokes for different folks. I mean, there are fundamentals you have to do. Mm-hmm. But all these rules that you have all these people saying you have to do, that's nonsense. You got to mold and shape what fits for you, but you do have to practice the fundamentals. What are those fundamentals? What are the fundamentals of success? You've learned this from your personal development. What are the fundamentals that you got to do? You don't got to get up at 5 a.m., but you do have to do other things. What are the things you got to do?
Well, I mean, I think you're right in that everybody has their own, you've got to do what's right for you. What's right for me is not going to be right for you. I mean, we're all very different people. We're wired very differently. So, figure out what your daily method of operation is for sure and follow that. I mean, I've always been an advocate of consistency.
Okay, so let's say that. Consistency. Is consistency something you got to do?
Yes,
that's a
as
fundamental.
long as it's the right habits.
Right. So
consistently do the right habits every single day.
That's a tongue twister. Consistently do the right things. So in sales or in business, what would be a consistent activity you got to do?
Meet people.
So
network.
You got to network.
Yes.
If you don't network, you'll probably fail.
Right.
Did you have to network at 5 o'clock in the morning?
No.
You can network when
if
you
you're
want,
up at 5,
but you got to network, right?
Yes.
So you got to network, so you got to meet people. What else do you really got to do?
Well, I mean, you're constantly, in sales, and that's really, everything that we do is sales. Every transaction is really kind of sales. It's building the relationship. So what does that look like? I mean, if I look at my day, and time blocking for me is huge because especially with kids, I want to make sure that I'm focusing on them and, they feel like they're a priority, which they are, but I also have to make sure that I'm, building my business as well. So the time blocking is very important for me.
Well, let's talk about that for a sec. It's time blocking. Y'all know what time blocking is, right? So time blocking's been huge for me. I know it's been huge for you, and it's huge really probably for all of our listeners. The best association I give with time blocking is, if you're going to work out and go to the gym, first of all, it's important to do two things. Number one, be consistent at going to the gym. There's that consistency.
Yep.
And the second thing is you probably ought to time block a period of time a day that you do it. And it doesn't have to be at 5 a.m.
No.
But it's got to be, I'm going to keep throwing that out there. I just am. But you got to be, like if getting in shape is a goal, consistency at the gym is a fundamental.
Yep.
Time blocking to make that consistency is a fundamental. So I think it's really important to get your fundamentals down that you absolutely have to do, and then build your own rules around that. Does that make sense?
I mean, I've always kind of lived by, if it's not in the calendar, it's not getting done. What gets scheduled gets done, and it's on top of mind, right? So for me, and what I find and what I typically teach people is that, figure out what's really important to you. What's important to you? And usually there's a couple things or, top 3 important things. And for me, I find that a successful day at the end of the day is when I fulfill those 3 things, whether, my kids, my health, and my business. So what have I done every single day to contribute to those 3 things? And so when I was time blocking, and I've done kind of like a high level time blocking thing, and then also I do like my Google calendars, but the high level is, okay, here are my hours where I'm blocking out, where I'm with my kids in the morning before they go to school, and then afterwards, 3 o'clock and on, that's their time. So what am I doing in between where I can maximize that time? And so, looking at it visually on the calendar, did a couple things, is realizing that there's 168 hours in a week, right? We've got 24 hours in a day. You sleep, 6, 7 hours a night. That's typical for me. You've got a lot of time in the day to get a lot done. So if you can just look at that visually and then and time block where you're going to get things done, and which is, most conducive to your schedule, it's doable. Yeah. And if you get in kind of a rhythm, get into the rhythm of your own life. So figure out what's important to you, what are your core values, what at the end of the day makes you go, you know what, that was a great day. Like what about that day was great? Okay, well, think about that and then keep doing that over and over. Or if you've had successes in life, well, what about that? Or why was I successful? And kind of recount those steps and just keep doing those things. Yeah. So for me, from a building a business standpoint, and again, it was very easy, and I don't mean this to sound, arrogant or anything, but it was very, very easy for me to go into the dental field and recruitment because that's, I've already built those fundamentals and those habits and those consistencies with building a team within Send Out Cards. So it was just a matter of understanding new terminologies, really, because it was all about networking online, networking offline, following up with people, touching base, having all those touch points, whether they be the tangible touches, the reaching out, building those relationships, being authentic, doing what you say you're going to do, following up on emails, make sure that, during the day you're doing the face-to-face, belly-to-belly kind of interviews, and then the time, when my kids are sleeping, that's when I'll do my emails, for example. So figure out what makes most sense on your schedule to get those things done. There's certain times where, I don't have time during the day to have an hour conversation with a friend about gossip, let's say.
Sure.
I don't have time for that.
Sure.
So
great.
If it's not, it is great, and I think people in your network will realize that. And so you won't get that as much anymore. And then the people will realize that you're serious, and they'll start counting on you for things. And then people start finding you. Like I haven't done any in my recruiting company. I haven't done any cold calls. It's all been
it's great.
People coming to me or referring to me. Even candidates and doctors who I've placed into clinics, they're now referring my company to all their friends and their associates. And and that's less than 7-8 months. It's because of all the principles and the fundamentals that are in your book.
Wow. Good stuff. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Really good input. One of my, you can clap. You can clap. That's the live version of this podcast show. So, one of my greatest mentors that's had a huge influence on my life used to always teach that you teach correct principles and allow people to govern themselves.
Absolutely.
And I think that's the key. And that's what you just shared, which is really, really good.
And that goes with our kids.
Well, yeah.
It's amazing.
Well, speaking of kids, you're a single mom. You have 2 kids, ages
9 and 11, 10 turning 12.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So they're getting into that really handful stage.
Oh, yeah.
So talk about time blocking and figuring out your rhythm. Tough for a single mom. So speak to our mothers out there who are also entrepreneurs, because you have some of the biggest challenges that any mother has, because you have to balance a lot of things, and still you're killing it in the business. You're kicking butt on the guys out there, and you're taking care of the 2 kids at the same time. So how do you?
Thank you. People do what you do, and they see what you do. It's so funny. I find myself saying, yelling at my kids sometimes, "Be quiet." And I stop myself, and I'm like, not being a really good leader here. I'm yelling at them to be quiet. They're not going to be quiet, right? people will do what you do, and that's your kids as well. And I think, my kids have seen, they only know me being an entrepreneur. They only know, they've seen me in send out cards and now in the dental, and I share with them what I do, and they're actually excited about what I do. And I now get them to do jobs. Like Braden does some of my bookkeeping, and I pay him for it. So I think that the kids, just like your team, when you're building a team and you're creating relationships, we are unconsciously setting boundaries.
Right.
And I don't think people realize that. People will treat you the way, whatever you allow them to do, right? Like, we're constantly setting boundaries with people in our lives, including our kids. And so they'll push as far as you let them. And they know, kids know. And so I think my kids know with me, I can be strict.
Yeah.
I'm very kind of regimented sometimes. And, my whole time blocking thing, I've showed them the time blocking. Anything that I do, I show them what I do. When I was creating the website for my business, I was showing them the website, taking them through the process. I make them a part of the process. It's not the kids and then me. It's not like, oh, the kids, this is a nuisance. No, you know what, guys? Mommy is doing this for all of us. And you want to have, my daughter this morning, I want a hamster. Okay, fine, you get the hamster. But they know that, in order for you to get these things, I need to work.
So what is mummy?
Mummy.
Mummy.
Mummy, Mom.
Is that a Canadian thing?
Mummy? Is it a Canadian
mummy.
thing?
Did you hear her say that?
It's
mummy.
It's British.
Mummy.
Mummy.
Mummy says.
M-U-M.
M-U, mum.
Mum. Yeah. That's
cool.
That's British, I guess.
Cool.
Yeah. So,
stuff.
they get used to it. The kids will adapt to you.
Right.
It's like if you tell, your child no, and then, they ask you again, you're like, oh, okay, and give in. Well, guess what? They know that no doesn't really mean no. So just like in business, you do what you say you're going to do. I use the same principle with my kids.
Right. That's very,
I
very
said
good stuff.
no means no.
Very good.
So
Melissa, we always like to close our podcast with giving you the floor. So typically in the podcast format, you're here as the guest and you answer questions. So it's kind of, what you offer is based on the questions that are asked. So I always like to close every podcast by just giving you the floor and talk about whatever you feel our listeners ought to take from this particular podcast show today. So the floor is now yours, just for a couple of minutes. What are the golden nuggets from Melissa Barlock?
Okay, what are the golden nuggets? Believe in yourself.
Yeah.
I mean, it sounds so simple, but it's so powerful. I mean, if you can truly, there's up days, there's down days. There's going to be some really hard stuff that you're going to go through, but I think those are life lessons that are there to actually teach you and guide you and bring you to your true greatness. And I think a lot of people who have gone through hardships, and there's a whole array of them, have faith in the universe or God or whatever you believe in, but really more important, have faith in yourself and believe in yourself. I think that's so important. I mean, when I sit here and I say, I know that at some point they're going to be my client, right? Mm-hmm. Part of that, it's a little bit of tongue-in-cheek and being a little bit, coy, but really believe that. Mm-hmm. Like, if it all falls in line with the I am statements. If you truly believe that about yourself, it will happen. It's like, when you start embodying the things that you want, the universe will give them to you. And I mean, you talk about it all the time. It's so true. But the whole core of that is simply to believe in yourself, and that's really hard to do. Yeah. It's really hard to do, which is where that working on yourself is an absolute must in your life. You must work on yourself first so that you can be everything that you want for everybody else.
Wow, incredible stuff. Well, Melissa, thank you. Again, this is our live version. Give it up for Melissa Barlock. Come on, everybody. all of our podcasters, this audience is now standing on their feet and cheering on our guest on this podcast today, Melissa, with your great message that you had.
Thank you.
So we want to thank you all for attending this special edition of our Relationship Marketing Podcast show. We encourage you to share this with other people and get it out there. And we look forward to seeing you all on another episode. We do this every week, another episode of Relationship Marketing with Cody B. Take care, everybody. Say bye to our guests.
Thank you, Cody. Yeah. A great opportunity. It's been wonderful. Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
We'll see you all now. Take care.
If you have enjoyed this episode of the Relationship Marketing Podcast with Cody B, be sure to subscribe to the show and leave a review so that together we can get this message, The Power of Human Connection, out to the world. You can find Cody's new book, The Power of Human Connection, on Amazon or the Send Out Cards gift store.